Welcome back to the Commanders Declassified podcast. I'm Ali. Eric, what's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. I figured I should start playing with my mic as soon as we went on the air. That's the way you should do it. So I don't know what I was thinking just then. Doing all right, though. How about you?
I'm doing tremendous. Mike is on vacation somewhere in Tallahassee, but he may sign on, actually, because he's so committed to this podcast that you may see an appearance from Mike. We're not sure.
What's going on in Tallahassee?
There's a conference of gnome collectors. Mike is an avid gnome collector for his garden.
The garden gnomes. Yeah.
Those.
Right. You ever have one of those? I just always think they want to murder me. I can't have it.
I have never had one in my life.
I don't want to you saw that Goosebumps back in the day.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Little gnomes. And the kid wakes up and they're all staring in his window. I think I was 17 when I saw that. It still traumatized me. So good on you, Mike, for the gnomes. You keep those things over there in Southwest.
That's right. So, Eric, we got a little bit of a break in the off season, at least as far as the Commanders are concerned. It looks like all the free agency moves are done until after the draft, and they might address some more things in free agency. So I want to take a step back and look at last year relative to Kliff Kingsbury's offense, because if I remember correctly, we both were relatively lukewarm on the hire of Kliff Kingsbury as offensive coordinator. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah, hindsight is 50-50. So we'll just go ahead and own it that we were not excited. We were not enthused. We were not pumped for Kliff as offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I know, especially speaking for myself, I was like, ooh, I don't know about this one. But how long into the season did it take you to change your mind about Kliff last year?
Honestly, probably November, because that's when Kliff's offenses usually started to fall off. And when the Commanders' offense stayed pretty strong. There was a couple of down weeks there, but even when they were losing, they were still putting up 25 points, 28 points. So, I kind of got over my fear of Kliff around mid-November. I was like, all right, I think we got something going on here. I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah, I think the first real big inclination for me was that Cincinnati game. I think that was week 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you want to see it sustained. And then, I think after when Jaden got hurt against Tennessee and Mariota came in and was highly effective. Carolina. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Was it Carolina?
Yeah, I was at the game. It's the one game I went to. Got to see Marcus Mariota play.
There you
go. My money's worth.
Okay. Yeah. Then I think that's the one that I said, okay, I feel decent about this. All right. So before we get into the stats, overall, it's not, Jaden Daniels, we know he was awesome last year. What do you think really made the offense tick in terms of position groups, and where do you think the offense struggled a little bit in terms of offensive position groups?
I thought the offensive line struggled at times with protection last year. And the running game started off really strong, and then just towards the end of the season, it was just like Jaden. And some of that, coincided with Austin Eckler, getting hurt. The second time he got hurt, the running game really fell off because he kind of gave you that little bit of burst and wiggle that you didn't have outside of that. And Brian Robinson didn't play well down the stretch, really. For the most part, he had a game or two. I think the Tennessee game, he was really strong. But as far as what made it tick, the connection, once the connection between Jaden and Terry got going, which was that week 3 game, because I think that week 2 game against the Giants, he had 7 catches for 20 yards or something. It was ridiculous. But that week 3 game, when he had that first 100-yard game and he had those big catches, that's when it really got going. And the fact the receiving group really was greater than the sum of its parts for the better part of the year. Nobody was really great outside of Terry, who had a phenomenal year, but everybody else, somebody always stepped up every week. It just wasn't always the same guy, but it was Zacchaeus against the Eagles, De'Ami Brown against Tampa, Noah Brown at times. So somebody stepped up every week, and I thought that was pretty awesome. So the receiving core in the passing game was a really strong point for the offense.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, I think, and you got to put the emphasis on the receiving core, like you said. Terry's freaking outstanding, and we all know that. But it was really death by 1,000 cuts with the other receivers, right? I think the quarterback situation aside, the offensive line played better than I expected them to overall last year, which I think contributed to the success of the offense. Kliff Kingsbury wants to run the ball. I feel like our running backs were a major disappointment, all in all, last year, right? And Eckler's injury, the concussion, and stuff like that had a lot to do with it, like you said. Jeremy McNichols had some good moments, but B Rob, I think as a starter for me, I think I'm good on that, and I wonder if Kliff isn't as well, right? Ready to look at something else in the number one running back position. All right, your highlight of the year from an offensive perspective. Is it the Hail Mary? Was that your moment, or what's your offensive peak last year?
Yeah, that's kind of cliche. I mean, that was clearly massive. I mean, that was probably the play of the year, like in the NFL. I don't think there was a play that topped that play. Um, for me personally, I don't know if it was a single play, but like the 5 touchdown game that Jaden had against Philly was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Just against that defense, and the comeback win and all that. But like single play, I'll go with that. I'll go with that dime in the Cincinnati game to Terry McLaurin for the touchdown when Jaden Daniels just got smacked and he just put through a perfect pass right where only Terry could get it in the corner of the end zone. That was kind of, I think that's when pretty much the nation kind of woke up to what we had going on here in DC.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a
National
few of
TV
them.
game and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Lions game too, in the playoffs in general, on national TV was massive for this offense. All right, let's get into the stats. So offensively overall for yards per game, the Commanders were, I believe, seventh overall at 369 yards a game. They had a total of 6,284 yards of offense this year. Passing wise, they had 3,665 yards passing, average 215 yards a game. Going into 2025, do you expect that number in terms of passing yards per game to increase, stay the same, or come back a little bit?
I imagine stay the same or pretty close to that, because that's a good solid year. And the NFL changed a little bit, and there weren't those gaudy numbers that you were seeing like early in the decade have kind of went by the wayside. There weren't, outside of Joe Burrow, because he had to score 40 points to lose by 3 every week. There weren't those gaudy quarterback stats that we've seen in the past, like Lamar Jackson as MVP. He had a great year, but we're not seeing those 50 touchdown seasons anymore, those 5,000 yard whatever passing seasons, those guys with 8 or 9 300-yard games. We didn't really see that this year outside of Joe Burrow. And I think the 215, 220, 250, those are pretty common games. Very efficient passing games. And I think, yeah, that's probably going to continue. I think the efficiency of this offense will lie in those like quick hitters and, maybe not with the occasional deep shot, I guess. But yeah, I think it may go up a little bit, but I don't think it'll change a whole lot. Hopefully because of an improved run game.
Right. And I think looking at the top passers in the league last year, we only had, 7 guys go over 4,000 yards last year? And Patrick Mahomes wasn't one of them. It was Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, Gino, Sam Darnold, and Lamar. Right. So you're right. The league is evolving, obviously, with the run game making a comeback. And personally, I think I think with Debo and Terry, and depending upon what we do in the draft, I could very easily see that going up to 225 yards a game, which would put him, I think, close to the 4,000 yard mark. But I would not at all be surprised if it stayed around the same amount. I mean, we left a lot of yards on the field in the passing game because of drops, because of just different plays. And I also expect them to take a little bit of a step back in terms of how much he runs coming up in this coming season. So that might just be a pipe dream of mine, but if we go 225 yards a game, we'll be at 3,800 yards passing. So, all right, getting back to the stats. So, rushing wise, let's see, the Commanders averaged about 215 yards per game rushing. No, I'm sorry, that's passing. My apologies. Rushing wise, we averaged 154 yards a game rushing, which was actually third in the NFL. Are you surprised that we were third in the league in rushing?
No. As much as Brian Robinson started the season, it's easy to forget he started the season really strong.
Yeah.
And then Jaden kind of picked up the slack. There was a lot of scrambles and design runs for Jaden Daniel, way too many, in my opinion, down the stretch. But I mean, he was rushing for 75, 80 yards a game, basically all through late November into December. So no, it doesn't surprise me at all that we were that high in rushing.
Do you agree or disagree that Jaden will run less next year?
I would like to see fewer design. You can't completely take them away because it's part of the package and it's a real weapon. I maybe cut down some of the design runs, and the scrambles are just going to happen. Maybe with some improved offensive line play, the scrambling, he doesn't scramble quite as much. And honestly, the scrambling I think scares me a little more than the design runs do because you've at least got a plan in place when the run is planned. So, right, you've got guys blocking for you, and you've got some place to get to, and to get down, where to get out of bounds or whatever. Whereas with the scramble, you're just kind of picking it up. Now, I never want to see him not scramble if it's 3rd and 20 and they're playing, the other team's playing man coverage and everybody's backs to him. Take off, man. That's part of the weapon, part of the game. But yes, I would like to see fewer carries for Jaden Daniels next year. I do not need my quarterback to have 800 yards rushing. I don't need that in my life. It's nice, I guess.
I don't need Jaden running QB powers in the red zone. If we do it that play entirely where he's got his lead blockers and they're pulling for him, and let's just get that out the playbook altogether. Let's give that to a all the duos, all the powers, all the trap, like no more QB stuff like that in the red zone. Because there were a few times Jaden almost got killed running those things.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get a running back and get the ball in the end zone. I don't care who it is. Give the ball to a running back in the red zone, and let's move on that way. Because protect Jaden at all costs. By the way, do you agree they need to upgrade a running back? Or are you okay with B-Rob back for another year to see what he's got?
I mean, I'm okay with B-Rob being back. I think they need somebody that's more dynamic. I think Brian Robinson is a fine NFL running back. He's perfectly adequate. I don't think the offense that they ran last year was great for him. But I mean, you can do a lot worse than Brian Robinson as your running back. But I think they need to add, like, if you have something like Detroit had with David Montgomery and DeAndre Swift, like that's or was it DeAndre Swift? That might be wrong.
No,
I don't know. Jahmyr Gibbs. Thank you. Yes, Swift was in Chicago. But if you have something like that where Robinson plays that Montgomery role and you get somebody, kind of fast and explosive that can, do those big gainers, that's ideal. I would really like to see somebody like that. And if a new bell cow comes along, somebody like an Omarion Hampton, or the kid from Iowa, I can't remember his name offhand, somebody like that comes in, completely fine with that. Brian Robinson will be a fine backup running back, but I think they should tweak the rushing game if he's going to be your lead back next year.
And knowing you as well as I do, I think what you're saying is they need to be under center, running the ball more.
I do need to see my quarterback under center. Yeah, I think he's more of an eye back or quarterback under center. You can run that. I mean, it opens up so many more options in the run game and the play action game. Like, just get him under. You don't have to do it all the time, but get him under center a lot more next year. Get Jaden Daniels, that is, under center next year. You can do Robinson. That'll help Robinson quite a bit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Or any running back there, honestly.
I agree. Eckler, are you good on him and Kliff Kingsbury, or do you want him back in Kingsbury's offense next year?
Yeah, I think he did fine. Maybe even shrink his role a little more. To that, he just to keep him healthy. Really, I think he could. He can handle more touches, but just to keep him healthy, I would maybe shrink him, make him that third down back exclusively.
Mm-hmm.
Don't rotate him in as like the lead back. Just have him in those passing situations and screw it. Like, okay, we're passing. What are you going to do about it? Do that, right? Like, just for his sake, because he is getting a little older. He doesn't have a ton of miles on because he got a late start in the league, but he did get hurt several times last year just to keep him upright. And he had a really good season at kick returner too. So he can even focus on that. I like the fact that he was back there.
Yeah, I'm good with that too. All right, so points per game wise, the Commanders were 5th in the league at 28.5 points per game. We finally got past our 19 points per game curse, so that was good to see. I kind of feel like 28 to 30 points a game is a lot. Can we sustain that going into this next season?
Upgrade at running back, maybe. I don't see why not. I mean, it's Washington's not going to sneak up on anybody next year, so it may get a little bit tougher. But if you can get into that, I mean, really 3 offensive touchdowns in a game is fantastic, and then add a couple field goals and you're right there. So if you can kind of stay in that 3 offensive touchdowns a game, plus whatever you get, in the kicking game, roll with that. And if it's 28, it's 28. If it's more. But I guess it might be a little tough to sustain 28 a game, but other teams do it, so why can't we? We got Jaden, right?
We do have Jaden, and I think the other piece is, and you alluded to it, is the kicking game. The kicking game cost us a lot of points last year in games, to the point where we just stopped attempting kicks. I think because of that, Eric, if we're more effective in our kicking game, we won't be as adamant about going forward on 4th down, which could reduce our points per game some, because we had a lot of 4th down touchdown conversions this year too. So my guess is it'll come back down towards 25 points a game, 26 maybe, which is still enough to win in most weeks. You just have to have a better defense this year, which will help the offense out tremendously. And then if we get a better kicking situation, I know we got the same guys back, but we got to be better there, and that'll give us another 3 points somewhere in the game.
Seibert was really actually good until he got hurt.
Yeah.
That was what happened there, because Seibert had a really strong opening of the season. And then after the injury, he kind of fell off in that Dallas game. That was the end of him. But, I'm willing to bring him back if he's healthy and give him another chance.
Yeah, he never came back. Like, I think he came back but wasn't good, and then was like, that was it. So
yeah, he came back from that Dallas game and missed the extra point, and we all saw what happened there. And then it was Zane Gonzalez the rest of the way.
Yeah, that's an area that has to improve. I know that's not Kliff Kingsbury's area to improve, but we got to get better at kicker. All right. If you're Kliff Kingsbury, what are your 3 biggest offensive or offseason asks, and have they solved for those already, Eric?
Well, I'm going to ask to get Jaden Daniels under center. So I don't know if they can stay. He needs to solve that. He can do that and teach Jaden how to take a snap. Personally, I'm up in the air about the number 2 receiver now that they signed Michael Gallup. The Gallup-Debo combination is interesting because I still don't think Debo is a true number 2 receiver. I don't know that Gallup is either, but he has shown the ability to, his career for the most part is 40 catches, 500 yards. That's decent second receiver. I mean, it's fair to decent second receiver. He had that one big 1,000-yard season, but outside of that, he's really been, 40, 45 catches, 500 to 600 yards his whole career. So if he's got anything left in the tank, I think number 2 receiver, I think that's basically solved between him and Debo and Noah Brown. And, if Luke McCaffrey can step up, I think the receiving core can be a little better than it was last year. And my other ask is running back, and that has yet to be solved. I think it'll be addressed in the draft, probably in the 3rd or 4th round if I'm making predictions. So we'll see what happens there. But I think 2 out of his 3 big asks, in my opinion, have been answered.
Yeah, I think Noah Brown's your wide receiver 2 at this point, if they don't address it in the draft. I think Gallup is there, and I think Debo is sort of like you said, he's kind of just a weapon more than a true number 2. And I don't know what we're going to get out of McCaffrey, and I don't know what we're going to get out of Ertz just because of age. Hopefully Ertz is still cooking, but we'll see. Running back with you all day. I think Hampton's going to go in the top 15. He won't be there.
That's a bold statement. I don't know if he's going that early.
I'd almost put money on it. He won't get past 15 in the draft. He's At least from all the draft, pros, they're saying that he's really, really, really moving up those boards. Um, yeah. So offensively, I think we had a great season last year. Any final thoughts on the offense from last year transition to this year, and anything else that you need to see from Kliff Kingsbury next year?
I mean, the only thing I need to see from Kliff next year is to keep it going, and I don't see why he can't. I think he's really happy here. He likes working with Jaden Daniels. He's still getting paid by the Cardinals, so he's he's a happy camper in DC. He can just focus on offense. He doesn't have to have all the struggles on his shoulder. So I think next year is there's I don't see a drop off next year unless this team gets injured. Heaven forbid. That's the only real way I see a drop off in the offense this year. This the offense is, I think, built to last. And the transition, like I said, I just like to see Jaden under center a little bit more, with more play action type stuff, and not that just stand in the shotgun and hand it off or zone read stuff that gets old. Get people start to figure that out. I'd like to see more under center play. Outside of that, I'm happy with Kliff.
100%. I don't got a lot to argue, man. I think Tunsil's going to do a lot for what Kliff likes to do. I would not hate it if we saw less screens this year. And then I think also from a passing touchdown perspective, we got caught at the 1 yard line a ton last year.
Yeah.
And so I think, there's easy opportunities to be better there. Debo's not getting caught at the 1, though. I promise you that much. He's too physical. He'll fall into the end zone. So I look forward to it. I think Kliff had an amazing year. He certainly outproduced my expectations. Like you said, the key is to sustain that going forward. Now that teams have had a year to kind of figure out Jaden Daniels and figure out Kliff Kingsbury and how they come together, if we can get a running back in the draft that's A+, I think this offense will be incredible. All right. Commanders Declassified. We talked about Kliff Kingsbury and his offense and what we think 2025 is going to look like. Like, comment, and hit the notification button as well. Subscribe, do all that good and kind stuff to keep this podcast going and growing. Eric, I appreciate you. Mike, we'll catch you on the flip side. Bring us back a known. Commanders Declassified. We are out of here. Peace.